Football is the most popular sport on earth, and with so much popularity, there will always be contrasting opinions. Being a team game involving 11 players, it is difficult to say that one player makes the team. However, some players have this effect on the game. Players, pundits, and fans alike are always stating their claims for who they believe is the greatest player to ever do it. With so much variation in the way football can be played, each player can develop their own style of play depending on their position. Entertaining the discussion of which player is considered the greatest of all time seems a futile task. However, not a day goes by without the discussion taking place. There are different reasons players get considered to be the GOAT, whether it be trophies won, goals scored, or individual achievements collected. Throughout the years, there have been names that have outlived the recency bias and players that have emerged challenging these icons. There will always be fan favourites, but these rarely find themselves in the conversation of the GOAT. As a football fan, I have my own biases. However, I respect the greats of the past and allow for my mind to be swayed in this conversation. In my opinion, there are 6 players that are in the conversation of being the greatest of all time. For different reasons, these 6 always pop into conversation when discussing the greatest of all time. So I'm here to tell you their stories and kickstart the conversation of why they should be considered as the greatest footballer of all time. In this video, I will be putting forward the story of Franz Beckenbauer and why he is the greatest footballer of all time. Franz Anton Beckenbauer, nicknamed Der Kaiser, is the footballing embodiment of a Rolls-Royce. High quality, reliable, and oozing luxurious style whenever he graced the pitch. Impeccable in every facet of the game, Der Kaiser was elegant, dominant, and led some of the greatest teams of his era to the top of the footballing pyramid, becoming a highly decorated footballer both individually and as part of these teams. Immediately, you're saying the same as so many others. How can he be the greatest player of all time? You can't think of Beckenbauer's iconic moments straight away, and he didn't score as many goals as Pele, Ronaldo or Messi. Well, of course he didn't. Franz began his career as a midfielder and gradually made his name as the maestro in the central defender position. Inventing the role of the modern sweeper, Franz was able to develop his game from behind the defensive line, kick-starting attacks from the goalkeeper before progressing forward with the midfield, seeking attacking rewards for his teammates and occasionally himself. Let's take a look into the main topic that pops in conversation when discussing the best: their accolades. Here are Beckenbauer's accolades throughout his playing career. He won the Bundesliga 5 times, one of which while playing with Hamburg at the age of 36 after 4 seasons in North America with the New York Cosmos. Also in Germany, he lifted the DFB Pokal 4 times. He also won the European Cup 3 times in a row with Bayern Munich, from 1974 to 1976, cementing his team as the kings of Europe during the mid-70s. On the international stage, he showcased his dominance as West Germany won successive major international tournaments in 72 and 74, winning the European Championship and the World Cup respectively with Die Mannschaft. Individually, he was named Germany's Player of the Year 4 times. He was included in Kicker's Bundesliga Team of the Season 12 of his 14 seasons in the league. He has been included in several dream teams across the European and global stage by countless media outlets throughout the years. And most importantly, he remains the only defender to win the Ballon d'Or twice, an award that has historically been presented to the best attacking players of the year, prioritizing goals over who the true best player in that calendar year was. Of the 63 years this award has been presented to the best player in the calendar year, there have only been 4 occasions where a defender has won it. Beckenbauer is responsible for half of those trend-breaking years. This emphasizes the clear importance of Der Kaiser throughout his playing time. He was internationally recognized and applauded on the grandest of stages. Twice! His success following his playing career only highlights one of the reasons why he is one of the select few defensive players to be considered as the greatest of all time. His leadership, organization, and ability to raise the level of the team and squad around him have allowed him to transcend the typical trend of what is expected in the greatest player of all time. Why is being an excellent leader and teammate not part of the discussion when the topic of conversation is raised? Surely the greatest players avoid controversy, let their football do the talking and fully immerse themselves in the team aspect of the game. This is what Beckenbauer did throughout his entire playing career. The entire argument for those who do not believe Franz to be the greatest player of all time will be that it can't be him. Football is about goals. Football is about entertainment. The more goals the better. But is it? Like all team sports, football is a two-way game. Of course, without the goals of Gerd Müller and Paul Breitner, it would be unlikely that Germany were to win the World Cup final in 1974. But was the impact of Beckenbauer any less significant? The role of defenders is often shunned into non-existence until they make a glaring error. Often going unnoticed, it is almost impossible for defenders to leave a significant footprint along the shores of footballing history. The fact that the memory of Franz Beckenbauer's success as a football player has been able to withstand the test of time, as a defender no less, is an accolade within itself. Inspired by the heroics of West Germany's World Cup winning squad in 1954, Franz began his footballing career with his local club, SC Munich 1906, across the road from where he lived. He developed his game and gained a lot of attention through his 5 years with the club, before he left to Bayern Munich, where he quickly moved up the ranks into the senior team. With the promotion of Bayern Munich to the Bundesliga soon after his 20th birthday, Beckenbauer was called up to the national team for an important qualifying game. The risky move of calling up this relatively unknown player at the time paid off as West Germany won and secured their qualification to the World Cup in England 1966. Here, Franz would stamp his name on the international stage, paving the way for his future successors. In 1966, he made his World Cup debut in an attacking midfield role, where he would hold the position for the rest of the tournament. 2 goals against Switzerland in West Germany's opening game helped the team top their group before Beckenbauer struck again, scoring against Uruguay. He then scored from outside the box against one of the greatest goalkeepers of all time, Lev Yashin, as the team marched toward the final at Wembley Stadium, meeting tournament hosts England. In a final where 2 of the best players at the tournament were both simultaneously designated with the mission to man-mark each other, both players seemingly cancelled each other out of the game. At extra time, and through the means of one of the most controversial goals in football history, Beckenbauer would not see a shining end to his debut World Cup campaign. Nevertheless, his performances in the tournament allowed France to pick up the Best Young Player of the Tournament award for the '66 World Cup. Following on from the disappointing end to the '66 World Cup, Franz was named captain of the Bayern Munich team at the age of 23, ahead of the Bundesliga winning 68-69 season. This was a testament to the impact Beckenbauer had on his peers at such a tender age. Undeniable brilliance, the Kaiser was now a firm fixture in the 1970 World Cup team for West Germany and Mexico, this time in a more defensive role. Despite starting further back, this was not where Franz limited his area of play. He was now fully pioneering the previously established libero role, elegantly and seamlessly migrating from defensive positions into the attacking third with his midfield comrades. A picture-perfect embodiment of this role was his goal in the quarter-finals with England, where the West Germans sought after revenge for the previous tournament's heartbreak. Bursting through the English barracks, Beckenbauer powered home a shot into the far left corner of the goal, kick-starting a comeback where West Germany would progress through to the semi-final after finding themselves 2-0 down to the English. In the semi-final against Italy, the determination of De Kaiser was publicly displayed. After a marauding run into the Italian defensive line, Franz was brutally hacked down just on the edge of the box, in the process dislocating his shoulder. Receiving some treatment, Beckenbauer returned to the pitch with his shoulder and arm wrapped in a sling. He would not leave his teammates that easily. In an enthralling game of back-and-forth football, the West Germans bowed out without the world's most coveted trophy once more, following a dominant tournament. His international success would only begin in the European Championships 2 years later. Now the captain of West Germany, Beckenbauer would lift his first major international trophy as West Germany beat the USSR with ease. This international achievement saw Beckenbauer awarded with his first Ballon d'Or, the first defender to ever be named the world's best player. 2 years later, the World Cup came around once again. The new aim to become the first player to lift the newest iteration of the World Cup trophy. Amid a controversial political period, Beckenbauer's international dominance continued, as his suddenly imposing physicality allowed West Germany to march through to the final in a much different tournament format to what we are used to seeing in the modern era of the sport. In this format, West Germany only had one loss in the entire tournament. This loss was enough to cause a power shift, where Franz dethroned West Germany's manager as the new tactician. Their loss against East Germany caused Beckenbauer to bring to light the team's eagerness to play attacking football. In a somewhat ironic turn, the pioneer of the attacking sweeper urged for a cautious approach. Success followed immediately, and in the second group stage, West Germany waltzed their way into the final. In the final, the Kaiser and West Germany faced the Dutch and their total football philosophy. Led by the great Johan Cruyff, both legends of the game went head to head. On his third attempt, this time with the captain's armband gripping his arm, Beckenbauer was able to taste the glory of the World Cup which originally inspired him to begin his career following the 1954 West Germany win. On top of the footballing world, the summer of 1974 saw Beckenbauer lift both the European Cup with Bayern Munich alongside the World Cup with West Germany. This European Cup was the first of a record 3 in a row with the Bavarians, cementing this as Bayern's most successful era. 3 consecutive years of European Cup dominance, something that has only been matched by Ajax and Madrid, and only bettered by the Madrid teams of the late 1950s. Beckenbauer firmly planted his flag in footballing history, and it has not been removed since. Breaking into enemy territory with a sublime pass, or with a distinguished travelling with the ball, the Kaiser laid the groundwork for future liberos, with his then modernisation of the position. Influential, captivating, majestic, and yet his achievements are still overlooked. Franz Anton Beckenbauer is the greatest footballer of all time. You just didn't know it until now.